Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer. Welcome back to European Truck Simulator 2, and welcome to, this is the second part of our trip from Bayonne, up the coast to Brest, and then across to, I said Portsmouth, but it's Plymouth that we're actually going to. So, we are driving without the, no. Oh, I'm on too many sims right now. I'm always hitting the wrong buttons. Too many things doing too many things. So we are driving without the mini-map. And this is going to be... No, okay, we can do this. So let's get rolling. I've been trying to focus more on driving and less on talking. I know, it's hard to tell. We talk a lot. I really do. I really do. But you know what? I also talk a lot, so there's that. Right, I got a lot to cover, and I thought we were about halfway, but we're more like 2/3 or 3/4 of the way, and then the last part of this is the crossing, obviously, because we're going right into a port city, so we're not going to drive a ton after we get across. So let me get started as quick as I can. So where to begin? All right, well, first thing is, I don't know if you're seeing this render. This is at night with rain. With lights on, with a lot of things, and we're at 60 FPS and no sawtooth. I'm running 8x. multi-screen MXAA. Forget what the X is for. Forget what the F is for. Anytime I say MF, I always think multi-factor authentication, but it's not that. It's MFAA anti-aliasing on 8X. It looks effing fantastic. It looks MFAAing fantastic. How did that come about? Well, I'll tell you. So I jumped into that dang old farm sim, that dang old FS19. It's supposed to have these fantastic graphics and all these things, and it's supposed to be this and that. And I thought the graphics looked like trash. I really did. I was super, super disappointed. And also my card was running super, super hot. So I did a video where I talked about the sweet spot. I think you know what I mean when I say the sweet spot. I talked about that, and eventually I took that video down because people thought it was clickbait, and I was offering some kind of like graphics setup. So if you can't find it, the reason you can't find it is because it's gone. But somebody left a comment and said, "What kind of system you running? What are you packing, son? What do you got in there?" And I told them, you know, i7 7700 Kaby Lake and a GTX 1050 with 4 gig. And they said, no. You should be at a steady 60 FPS on max settings. I mean, this is not DuX or anything. Like, this is not... Nothing in the Farm Sim series is ever going to be super graphic intensive. So you ought to be running 60 FPS. They didn't say that part about no installment of the Farm Sim franchise will be super graphic intensive. I added that. So don't think that I'm like putting words in their mouth, but they're right. It's kind of a, you know, it looks good, but it's not DuX. It's not some super gorgeous Ubisoft game. So I got me to thinking because what I've been doing is, you know, you get your in-game graphics settings, and then you also get your NVIDIA control panel settings. Well, as is often the case, I began chasing the dragon. Oh, I chased it. And see, what had happened was, sir... Thank you. See, what had happened was, I started individually tweaking games in the NVIDIA control panel. And I just sent myself down a road of misery, I realized in hindsight. And I did a couple things. I got the DDU on installer, and I completely scrubbed my drivers and all my profiles. Scrubbed everything. I uninstalled the GeForce Experience. I just started from scratch. I reinstalled everything. I went in and scrubbed the registry too. I cleaned everything up in there, anything that DDU missed. And then I restarted, and then I reinstalled clean drivers. I did an express install. No, reverse that. I did the custom install. Express install is when it puts a bunch of other things in there. I did the custom install and installed nothing but the drivers. And then I did something really strange for me. I went into the NVIDIA control panel, and instead of trying to tweak and tune and mess with every single sim that I have on an individual basis, I just clicked maximum quality, override all app settings. Done. That's it, man. You know what I'm saying? And here we are, and I think it looks effing fantastic. All of our sawtooth is gone, all of our picket fence is gone, all of our moray is gone. We have a fantastic frame rate. For me, we're at 50 at night with lights in the rain. I'm totally pleased with this render. I'm totally pleased with this frame rate. And you know, I'm always chasing 60. Always talking about frame rate. And I'm always chasing 60. Well, me and everybody else, everybody's chasing 60. Although, I do, every now and then I'll see on a thread, somebody will be like, you bunch of whiners. You know, I get 20 FPS and I love my Sims or my games or whatever. And that's cool. You know, I don't doubt that they do love their games, but it's a different kind of experience. You know, some people can watch a movie on their phone and be totally pleased, and other people need to be in, you know, stadium seating, IMAX, 5,000 watt surround sound system, etc. So everybody gets down different. No two people are the same. So I really do like 60 FPS, but I also like a pretty render. And to have both at the same time, obviously, it's the holy grail. It's the white whale. It's the holy whale. And, you know, I'm not quite there. I'm not at 60, but 50 is, for me, 50 is pretty close to 60. So that's a good thing. The downside to that is that it took some random stranger telling me on the internet, and I'm very thankful that they did. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying? It's a little bit embarrassing. I feel like I'm out there in the cul-de-sac trying to do a big smoky burnout in my new Corvette, and the neighbor kid is like, "Hey, mister, your parking brake is on." Yeah. Thanks, kid. Appreciate that. So, but either way, I did make some changes, and I made them differently than I normally do. And basically what I did is I trusted NVIDIA. I know, people say don't trust NVIDIA. But I did. I trusted NVIDIA, and, you know, it seems to be working. So, that's one thing. Thing number two, I released a video a few days ago, and it's a Long Island Railway. That's not how we say it in America. Long Island Railroad DLC for Train Sim World. And the most views I've ever had for a video is about 1,300 for a Farm Sim 17 video, and that took several months. This video is over 800 views in less than a week. All things are relative. I see you looking at me like, 800? Ooh, easy, player. Hey, you know what? Everything's relative. Baby steps, yo. For me, that's a lot. And it happened in less than a week. And it happened exactly the right time, because I hadn't given up on the channel, but I was accepting the fact that I was doing something wrong. Like, the growth is just too slow. So to have a big video and to pick up, you know, a dozen subs, again, everything's relative. You know, when you have 70 and you get a dozen, that's like a 20% bump, 15% bump. And I really needed that. And I won't say that I'm doing this, how do I want to say this? I've been in and around live music since I was in my teen years. And there's definitely a difference in the performance that you see depending on the crowd. And it would be nice to say that all performers, and I am performing, I'm not doing an act, I'm just being myself right now, but I am performing. And I have to say that it was starting to get a little bit stale for me, because I knew nobody was watching. And if you know nobody's going to show up to see one of your shows, if you're in a rock and roll band, if you know nobody's going to be there, man, you're not even worried about being on time. You know, who cares? Nobody's going to be there. And it's just never going to be as tight. It's just not. No matter how committed you are, no matter how talented you are, no matter how dedicated you are, it's impossible. It really is just impossible to play with the same energy and enthusiasm for an empty room or a dead crowd as it is for a crowd that is just going absolutely bananas. And knowing that very few people were watching my videos, I feel like on some level, the part of me was like, oh, well, whatever. If I'm tired, if I'm not, and I wanted to continue to improve the quality and, all this. But at the same time, on some level, a part of me was like, oh, what difference does it make? Nobody's watching. Who cares? So this has definitely kind of lit a fire under me as far as, motivating me. And I don't know. It's the best way I can say it is that their rock and roll analogy is you always perform better when you know people are watching and when you know people are into it. So knowing that some new people are watching and people are into it, hell yeah, I'll do my thing. So yeah, that is definitely put a smile on my face for the holidays, because I really was kind of like, something seems to be not working here. But we get a little uptick. I'll take it. So that is that news. The truck that we're in, I should have said this before we got started, but I wanted to get on the road instead of talking at you while we sit in the parking lot. So this is the Oahu Volvo, now taken over by Pendragon. It's a fantastic mod. I love it. And it's got the rigid conversion for the carry box on the back. And I still have not figured out how to skin both. I know there's a way to do it because I've seen it, but I can't figure out how to do it. And the problem is when you go into the ETS studio, you have to put your truck into the database. Whatever truck you want to skin, you have to put it in the database if it's not there. Well, this truck is not there. If I put the truck in, it only gets the front part, right? The cab. It sees it as an articulated lorry. And I can't put the box conversion in because that's not a truck. If I try to put that mod in, I get an error saying no truck found in this mod or something. So I know there's a way to do it because people have done it, but I can't do it. Now, to be fair, I've only ever seen one Volvo skin. I've seen a bunch for the RJL rigid conversion, but I've only seen one for the Volvo, and it's not currently working. So I think it might be a 1.32, 1.31 thing. No, I don't know, but I told you last episode, if I can't figure out how to make a skin, or if I can't figure out how to make a skin work for a particular truck, I'll find a skin that does work and pull it apart. Well, I pulled this one apart, and I can't see how it works, and I can't make it work. So I think maybe it just needs patched up or whatever, but I'll keep cracking at it. In the meantime, we've got a skin on the cabin, and we're just running a white box. And that sort of works out because we have a carry box trailer by cast as well, dolly trailer. And I would have to skin that, and those seem to be super, super tricky because it uses one skin, or at least it did. It used one skin for all the different size boxes. So that's tricky, and they tend to patch up fairly often, and I've noticed that sometimes the skins don't go with them and you have to build another one. Not a big deal, just something for me to keep working on. So that's that. What else is going on? Beyond the Baltic Sea has a release date. It is November 29th. Looking forward to that. We are at the moment, we're still in 1.32, even though 1.33 is in beta. And the reason we are is I did not want to lose pro mods, and 1.33 at the moment has broken a lot of mods. And honestly, I just didn't feel like messing with my mod folder. I'll circle back to that in a minute, but I feel sometimes like the ratio of time that I play this game to time that I spend trying to keep this game running is skewed. Now that's on me. That's not the developer's fault. That's not the modder's fault. That's my fault for running 120 mods. But it's still a fact. And sometimes I just want to play the sim. And I really did not want to get into another 2 to 3 week hunt for updated mods and waiting for everything to patch over and little red exclamation points. You know what I'm saying? So we will have Beyond the Baltic Sea next week. And I also saw, and this is from the actual developer, I always clarify whether something is a rumor or whether I read it with my own 2 eyeballs. But on the ProMods blog, I did see one of the ProMod staff say, yes, we do get access to a beta before the rest of you do, so we can get the jump on it. And ProMods 2.32 for ETS 1.33, and I really feel like they should align those two. Since we're at 1.33 beta, I feel like when that's hits full release, that it should be ProMods 2.33. I think it would just keep it simple, and you would know what went with what. But anyway, 2.32 will be out soon. And at that point, I'll have to swap over to 1.33 because there are some trailers that go with Finland. The SCS Finland. There are some trailers that go with Finland in 1.33. So I have to run... I mean, I don't have to. You know what I mean. I will. And at that point, I'll have to run 2.32 ProMods and various other things. So I'll make it all happen when I have to, but I just don't feel like doing it right now. No other way to say it. So what I got to thinking was, because SCS patches this game up in significant ways quite often, I feel like maybe if they got on a schedule, you know, maybe if they had a spring patch and an autumn patch, people would know I'm going to need to fix all my mods, either as a mod maker or as a player. I'm going to need to fix all my mods. We go sort of straight here. Is that what I see? Yeah, we go sort of straight. Okay. Either as a modder or as a player, you're going to know you need to fix all your mods once in the spring and once in the fall. And for the rest of the year, you know, you spend a week or two getting everything sorted out, tip-top, and then you're good for 6 months, rather than it being sort of random. And I know they put out... is this right? I know they put the DLC and the patches out as soon as they can. And I get that. I appreciate that. You know, we're really driving across the lines here. And I suppose as a good fake trucker, we really should be in the lines. There we go. Let me try to get in the lines. So you see what I'm saying. It might mean, well, I don't even know if it would, because if they got on a schedule, then maybe they had 2 patches that they were going to do. You know, one in the summer, one in the fall. We just take the one for the summer and wait, do them both in the fall. So it's the same content. It's the same volume of upgrades. They're just delivered in kind of a more structured way. I don't know. And I see other people say this as well. Like, oh, god damn it. Now I got to go sort all my mods out again. It's not the end of the world. But just a thought that if they did get on a regular schedule, just so you would know, you know, when you got to do what. Right, this is going to be very exciting for 2 reasons. Sometimes when I take a ferry, I get stuck in the wall with a dolly trailer. I think this one will be okay. And sometimes when I take a ferry, the game crashes. Wipers off. Lights off. Engine off. I do this, you know, I don't have to, but I do it. I do it. Okay, and we're going to Plymouth. That's the only place we can go. 7 hours. We'll get some sleep. Fantastic. Here we go. Ding dong. And it should, yeah. Okay, no problems with the loading. Now, are we in the wall? Are we in the wall? Game? Whew, we're not. Okay. So turn this off. Turn this on. It is daylight, don't need that. Brake off, lights off, drive on the left. Here we go. And I think we're just going right around the corner to the terminal, to the cargo terminal. So if we're not going very far, in fact, let's do this right now. Yeah, this render, man, we're over 60 FPS in... moment while we load textures. Spoke too soon. We are over 60 FPS running 8x anti-aliasing. Oh, me so happy. Okay. Yeah. But you know what? I'm glad I found out it all. And that's, you know, I'm trying to be more positive. In fact, we're going to keep this going because we're only at 20 minutes. You know I like hanging out with you. We're only at 20 minutes, so let's keep this going. Let's pick up another cargo. Since we just slept on the crossing, let's pick up another cargo and let's keep it going. There's something else I want to tell you about being positive. Be positive. You know, no, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not teasing you. I was going to tell you something that's really really, really silly. It's like dad joke silly. And I am no dad. Yeah, loading textures. But we picked up a solid, like, a solid 10 to 15 FPS, which is like a 30% bump. Oh, game. Oh, game. Right, so, I was going to say something and I completely forgot. Oh, yeah, being positive. So I want to go, I always forget the technique, roundabout etiquette. So then I'm going here. And then is this, where my turn at? Is it here? I guess it's got to be. Oh, making a left from the right lane. That's not too cool. Right. So let's get another cargo and head up the UK. If we can get this in one swing. Maybe. Maybe I'm pretty far over. Oh, we got it. Okay. Kind of crooked. Kind of crooked, but wouldn't be the first time. Engine off. Let's unload, see how we did. Bayonne to Plymouth. Decent money. It's not fantastic, but we did all right. Wow, for some reason that seems like a lot of points. Okay, I'll take it. I will take it. Let's head up the UK. And we are running the Grimes late winter, I always say that, late autumn, early winter weather. So Inverness, well, that is northern UK. You know what, that's a little too far. I don't want to go quite that far. I want to explore a little bit, and I don't want to do another two-part trip. That's kind of the wrong way, but it would take us back to London. Manchester, that looks pretty good right there. Felixstowe, kind of the wrong way. That's going to Manchester as well. I won't do this. I won't make you sit through this too long. Birmingham, you know, that's London proper. I kind of want to go to this area right now. Let's look for Swansea, Fishguard, or Wexford. Nope, not going to happen. All right. So let's go back here. And there were two going to Birmingham, right? This one pays better. Or was it this one? Manchester. Didn't disappear already, did it? Mons, Birmingham. Nope, I think that's it. 10 grand. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Right, so we're all flipped around here. Put her in gear. Break. Oh, okay. And this is our destination. That's fantastic. We don't have to drive at all. So yeah, let me, and I guess this sort of ties in with something that I said earlier. You know, I was really kind of getting bummed about where the channel was going and the slow growth. And I had a couple people say, man, you got to engage on that dang old social media. You got to, you know what I'm saying? You got to, like, put yourself out there. I may... just load up that way. Only because I'm crap at backing up all trailers. But I'm truly crap at backing up dolly trailers. Right. Here we go. So in the interest of growing the channel, people said, you got to get on that dang old social media. And I was like, man, I really don't like social media. And they were like, you got to do it, man. You got to do it. You know, you got to take the bullet. And, okay. So this past week with FS19, wow. There is such a difference between 45 FPS and 60 FPS. Me so happy. So, So with FS19 coming out, there's been some controversy. I don't know if you follow FS19 or if you've seen the videos, but it was supposed to be a lot of things, and it turned out to really be not too many of them. And I guess it's settling into like 3 camps. And one camp is saying, you lied to us. And another camp is saying, well, you weren't entirely honest, but it'll get there. And then a third camp is saying, you guys are crazy. This is the most awesome thing ever. All right. Now, I don't see any reason why those 3 ideas need to be like, I mean, there's some commonality in there. As far as like the theme, you know, you see what I'm saying? There's some crossover there. It's like a 3-way Venn diagram. And as I try to, you know, I read a lot, and I go to a lot of threads, and I spend time on Reddit and, you know, various places and various forums. I spend time there, but I don't really participate. I just lurk. So I tried to participate a couple times, and I immediately got my hand slapped, internet style. And that's the reason that I wasn't on social media in the first place. People are kind of a-holes on the internet, and I think there's several reasons for that. You know, the people that you interact with on social media, the people that you know on Facebook that you know in real life, you're not going to treat them like absolute trash because you have to see them the next day at work, right? Or at Thanksgiving dinner, or that night when you go home and get into bed. You know, you're not going to be super aggressive and rude to that person because they're in your life. But people that you know you're never going to meet, you can kind of do whatever you want. And I feel like, you know, they say power is a corrupting influence. And I feel like the power that people have on the internet to speak without being contradicted, you know, to win every argument, you know, like everybody on the internet is rich and beautiful and has a Lamborghini in the garage. Everybody on the internet is skinny, you know, and it becomes kind of an echo chamber, and you never have to be wrong on the internet. You never have to be fat. You never have to be lonely. You never have to be ugly. Everybody on the internet is a superhero, and it's like it goes to people's heads, you know, and because they're not going to ever physically interact with the people that they antagonize, there's really no consequences for it. So yeah, I got my hand slapped pretty hard, and so okay, I'm done with it. I don't want to say that I got run off, but yeah, that's why I don't spend time on social media, is because of the way people treat each other. They treat each other really, really badly, and I have no interest in that in my life. I have no patience for it. I'm trying to be positive, and it's, you know, it's tough to be objective about your own comments and to read back through and say, no, there's nothing there deserving of that kind of response. And if anything, you know, I was looking for engagement. I was looking to discuss the problem, or at least discuss my opinion of FS19, and instead it turned into this thing, you know. It wasn't a fight or anything. I just split, not interested. But, you know, I feel like there are a lot of people on the internet. I could be totally wrong about this. I feel like there are a lot of people on the internet, and that's the only power that they feel in their life. And, you know, you go back to something I've said before, and this is, I didn't invent it or anything. I didn't come up with it. But anytime you see somebody who's really angry, see them as a person who's really afraid, because fear is really the root of anger. And, yeah, man, we learned that from Yoda. But it's true. And so when I see people that are really angry, I think that's a person that's really afraid. And I also, when I see angry, controlling, sort of petty people, for some reason I always think of someone not only who doesn't have any power in their life now, but who was bullied. And, you know, I'm autistic. And I'm categorized as hyper intelligent. That's one of those things that when you say it, people are like, oh, really? Well, yeah, technically, yeah, I am. And it's been nothing but a pain in the ass my entire life. It's not what people think it is. The best way that I can describe being really, really intelligent is you have perfect pitch and the entire world sings off key. So not only does it like grate on your nerves every second of the day, but nobody seems to think there's anything wrong with what they're doing because they're all doing it the same way and you're kind of the odd duck. So you put those two things together and yep, I sure did get bullied. And it's awful. It really, really is. And there's a couple ways you can do with it. You can do with it. You can deal with it. There's a couple ways you can deal with it. And, well, I guess there's more than a couple. But I guess there's two, like, principal ways you can deal with it. And one of them is to do what I did, which is to start spending a lot of time in the gym and kind of dabble in Buddhism, you know? Try to find some answers. Try to find a more peaceful place in your mind. And if you can find a more peaceful place in your mind, wherever you go, you take it with you, and then everywhere becomes a more peaceful place. But that gym doesn't hurt either, because, you know, you got to learn to take and throw a punch in this life. And it pisses me off that in America now, so many people want to settle things with guns instead of fists. I don't think there's anything wrong. And I'm not talking about like beating somebody half to death, but I don't think there's anything wrong with two people stepping outside to settle business. I think that's a good, healthy outlet. And I think if it happened more, the frustration wouldn't build up to the point where people do crazy, stupid things with guns. So yeah, man, if you're being bullied, go to the gym. Go to the gym and lift weights. Go to the boxing gym. And you got to find the old, like, stinky boxing gym in the bad part of town. And go in there and find an old trainer and pay him whatever, $20 a week, $50 a week for a couple hours. And say, people are picking on me. I'm being bullied. I don't like it. And they will say, all right, that's easy enough to sort out. Here's what we're going to do. And yeah, learn to throw a punch. And it's not necessarily that you will have to. And I'm certainly not advocating like preemptive violence or beating people up. I don't mean it like that. But simply being scary makes people leave you alone. And you don't have to antagonize people. You don't have to like go looking for trouble. But just being an intimidating person makes people leave you alone. They don't bother you anymore. So that's one way to handle it. That's how I handled it. The other way that people handle it is they become bullies themselves. And I feel like a lot of people have the conscience and the common sense not to become a real bully, right? Although some people do. A lot of people go after their spouses and their partners. A lot of men do it. A lot of women do it too. More than you would think. But some people do that in real life. But I think most people know that's kind of off limits. But the internet, the internet is like a perfect venue to be a bully. And first off, there's no consequences. And secondly, you're not really hurting anybody. It's not like you beat somebody up, you know. But it's that same kind of vibe, you know. I'm the boss here. Everybody does it my way. And that's, you know, gather round, children, and I'll tell you a little story. So when I was tiny, I was probably 7 or 8 years old, I was really into model trains. My dad was really into model trains as well. My dad's a bit of a nerd. He's a mathematician. Hey, let's put our lift axle down before we get there. He's a mathematician. He's a bit of a nerd. And he found this private model railroad in the city that I grew up in. And it was owned and run by a bunch of guys, like 20 or 30 guys owned it together. I say guys. When I say guys, I'm not being like sexist or anything, but you know, when you're talking about a giant model railroad, yeah, you're talking about guys. There's not going to be any ladies there. This is the Sausage Fest Valley Model Railroad. Anyway, it was owned by like 20 or 30 guys, and they had built it over the years, and it was truly massive. It was probably 20 or 30 feet deep, and I'd say between 150 and 200 feet long. It was in an old warehouse, and it was private. It was private. That's the thing that blew me away. Like, they didn't sell tickets for it. You couldn't go see it for Christmas. It was private. It's amazing. But my dad had like finagled it in with these folks because he'd been, kind of involved in the model railroad community. And he says, we're going to see this model railroad. And I'm like, fantastic, because I'm 7 or 8 years old, man. This is blowing my mind. And we go to see the thing. They call them operating sessions. And this thing was so big. I mean, it was so big it had its own flying crane. And it didn't really lift anything. It could lift stuff, but mostly what it did is it had a platform on it that almost looked like a massage table. And you would lay on this platform, and they would crane you out over the thing. You'd lay down on your face, and there was a hole with a padded ring for your face, and then your arms kind of went over the side. And it was so people could work on stuff that was in the middle of this model railroad. Like, that's how big it was. It had its own little, service crane to get out to the far areas out in the middle of it. That's very big. So they'd have these operating sessions, and the thing had like 2 yards. It had like a big yard at each end. So there'd be like the master dispatcher, and then there'd be a yard master for each yard, and then there'd be people running the switches, points. There'd be people operating the trains, and this was right about the transition from analog to digital, so you could have multiple trains doing different things on the same track. Oh, it was a scene, man. It was a scene. So my dad says, yeah, we're going to see this thing. And I'm like, that is effing fantastic, Dad. You're the best dad ever. And he's like, yeah, I might be. So we go to see this thing, and we're walking in, and he says, now, stay close, because last week when I was here scouting the place, there was a fist fight. And even at 7, I was like, what? Model railroad fight? That's like the saddest thing I've ever heard. Are you kidding me? And he wasn't kidding. And there had been. I mean, I have no reason to doubt my dad. He's an honest guy. But these were like fat old men dressed like train drivers, in the stripy overalls with a little hat. Fat old men fighting about their model railroad. But that's their kingdom, That's their, that's their place where they are the boss. And that's okay as long as you can move back and forth between that place and the real world. Well, no, I take that back. It's really not even okay then for you personally as an individual. But you're not going to have a lot of problems in society if you understand that once you leave that place, that you're just another citizen. Problem with the internet is you never leave that place. A lot of people kind of live on social media, so they never really reintegrate back into the world where they're not always right, where they're not the boss. And that's the beef that I have with social media. I think it's brought out the worst in a lot of people, and it's too toxic for me. It's just too hostile. It's too angry. It's not my kind of jam. There's a guy named Alex Lowe. He's dead now, but there was an alpinist named Alex Lowe, and he was an absolute beast. Do some reading about Alex Lowe. He was an amazing alpinist. He was a philosopher, and he was also he was like a genuine hero. He saved a bunch of people's lives. There's a bunch of people walking around on this planet today that would not be if it weren't for Alex Lowe. That is a very cool thing to have on your tombstone. But Alex Lowe, there was an interview with him, and he said, I don't do the things that I do to feel powerful. I don't conquer a mountain. I survive a mountain. I don't conquer a mountain to feel powerful. I stand on the flanks of a mountain to feel small, to feel my actual size, and to realize that as small as I may be, I still have a place in the universe. I still have a role to play. The mountains will humble you, and I've spent a lot of time in the mountains. I've spent a lot of time climbing. I've almost died in the mountains many times, and mountains will humble you. And they will teach you your place. And you do have a place, but not everybody gets to be the boss. And sometimes even people that are the boss, they really aren't. And a good way to sort of spot the difference is, can that person control themselves? Because if you can't control yourself, you can't control anything else. You may think you can, and you may bully people and intimidate people, make a racket, fuss and fight, get your own way, but you're really not controlling anything. You're just kind of bullying people. And you are one punch in the mouth away from not being the boss anymore. You know, and that's Robert Heinlein has a great scene, one of his sci-fi novels. The guy is learning about Earth. An alien is learning about Earth, and he's at the zoo, and he's watching the primates, and a big primate hits like a middle-sized primate, and all the other, I want to say they're chimps. So a big chimp hits a kind of a medium-sized chimp, and all the other chimps laugh and howl. And the medium-sized chimp is kind of freaking out, all angry and upset, and then he goes and finds a little chimp, and he hits him, and all the other chimps laugh and howl. And I think that is the best summary or explanation of the reality that shit rolls downhill. And it's really easy to transfer the fear and sadness and pain that you're feeling to somebody else. You haven't really gotten rid of it. You're just giving it away. You know, it's like getting caught with drugs. You know, now you got a problem with the police, and you know what the police tell you? Just give us a name and make your problem somebody else's problem. And that's it. Unfortunately, I think that's all people are willing to do. They don't want to do the work, you know, and pick the scabs and figure out what it is that's causing them to feel that fear, that sadness. They just want to get rid of it. Sometimes the quickest way to get rid of it is just to give it to somebody else. And people do. So anyway, you know how the channel gets. We get a little deep up in here. We get a little philosophical, but that was my foray into social media. I've been away from it for years, and I will go back to being away from it because it's just not my jam, man. It's really not. I also got, let me end on a slightly lighter note, because we're coming up on 45 minutes, and that's how I'd like to tie it off. Let me end on a slightly lighter note. I got my first creeper. I had somebody leave a comment, and it was kind of a cryptic comment. Like, I really had no idea what it meant. It could have meant several things, you know, and one part of you was like, oh, they must mean, you know, and then another part of you is like, God, I hope they don't mean, you know. It was somewhat ambiguous grammar. So I'm like, all right, let me check this out. So I went to the person's, slow it down here. I went to the person's channel, and oh boy, yeah, you can get some pretty disturbing content onto YouTube without getting like flagged. I found some. And it's weird because it's not how do I want to say this? It's the kind of disturbing that's like if you see a bumper sticker, right? You see a car, it's got a bumper sticker on it that says, "My other ride is your mom." Oh, all right, well, that's not very nice. But you know what? It's, you know, it's kind of cute, and you know, maybe you're just a, you know, kind of an abrasive person, whatever. It's not, you know, it's not that bad. Maybe you're kind of an a-hole, but whatever, it's not that bad. And then you see another car that's like covered front to back and top to bottom in tiny little Sharpie writing, like magic marker writing, and you get up close and somebody is like written all over the car, and you start reading and it's like, oh, this is like John Doe's journal from 7, man. This is some creepy stuff. Like, you look at the car from 100 feet, it just looks gray, but you get up close and it's like, wow, man, you're effing crazy. You're completely insane. I need to get away from you. Even though it's not like overtly whatever, it's just crazy. You crazy. So this was not anything like overtly whatever, but at the same time it was like, oh man, you're freaking me out, my friend. You are freaking me right out. So that is, and I have no idea what their comment meant now. Initially, the first couple times I read it, I was like, oh, could mean this, could mean this. And then after I saw their page, I was like, I don't care what it means. It's not good. It is not good. All right, so let's get parked up here. I don't think I'm going to sleep because we don't need to. I'm just going to pull in here and end the video, and then we'll pick up from here next week. Right. I think that's about right. Use our little front mirror that I never use. Put her in neutral. Engine off. Lights off. Folks, thanks for stopping back to check out the Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of European Truck Simulator 2. And we'll see you next time. Take care now.